good tutor would actually just go beyond just the showing up on a week by week basis to teach the child. What I always, tend to do is just get to know a little bit more about the child and their background, or their cultural background, and just finding out how we can support them better. So that day I decided I was going to go through teacher training and then make a difference. No, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm full of virtual cake. Yeah.
I'm being very good. Yeah, Christmas around the corner, so I'm being...
Exactly. Hello and welcome to the Qualified Tutor Podcast, the podcast that brings you the latest in the world of tutoring, edtech and education, and hopefully inspires in you the big change that each and every one of us is capable of. Qualified Tutor is an industry-leading tutor training organisation and online tutoring community for thousands of tutors around the world. This podcast is the voice of this community, where we aim to hear from tutors, teachers, entrepreneurs, coaches, business experts, students, tutorpreneurs, and more from the world of tutoring about what inspires them every day, how they can help tutors like you, and what they've learnt about tutoring along the way. The question is, what will you learn today? Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Qualified Tutor Podcast. My name is Ludo Miller, and today we are very, very proud to welcome on Shola Alabi. Welcome, Shola.
Thank you very much, Ludo. It's really nice to be here. Thank you.
No, thank you. Now, before we dive into the questions, I'd just like to introduce Shola. Shola is a qualified teacher with over 20 years experience in the education sector, mastering the art of classroom teacher, teacher trainer, private tutor, university lecturer, tuition centre director, author, and motivational speaker, all at the same time. Shola has, in addition, along the way, built a dedicated following to whom she shares tools, tips, and secrets to support and encourage tutors and parents to get involved in child's education and make a difference in their child's success. Now, having set up both a tutoring business and a tuition centre around 15 years ago, Shola is, I'm going to say, pretty well placed to provide in-depth knowledge of the process of both starting and running a tutoring business. Now, Shola, you and your husband, Kenny, were recently awarded a prize in community leadership and service. Is that right?
Absolutely. Wow, you definitely have thought you've done your homework well, Ludo. Yes, about a week ago, actually. Yeah, Sunday, not last Sunday, but Sunday before. Yeah, 31st of October. Yeah.
Awesome. So what was it said community and leadership and service?
Yes, because apart from what we do, what I do, and of course with what my husband does. My husband's a driving instructor, and he does quite a lot of football coaching. Well, not as much as he used to. What we've also done is we also support within the church family. So we do Sunday school. So all throughout the pandemic, it was Sunday school classes, just so that to keep the mental capacity and the mental stability of the children within the church family. So I guess that's one of the reasons, and also for showing up.
Every day and serving your community. Absolutely, Shola. Now, I was just saying to you before, and I'm in a great mood. It's a wonderful day here where I am, and I've just discovered a new type of German pastry called, and forgive my German, I think it's called Mollstollen. Oh. That's what I remember reading on the little counter in the bakery. So I'm in a great mood. I'm really, really excited for this podcast because we've been following, myself and Julia and the rest of the Qualified Tutor team have been following your work and your career on LinkedIn for a while now, Shola. We are so happy that you actually agreed to join us on this podcast because we thought, no, Shola's got far too busy to appear on a tiny little podcast like ours. So,
oh no, I'll do anything to support whatever is going. Supporting the children, supporting the tutors, supporting the parents. Oh gosh, yes, I'll do anything.
Okay, brilliant. So, on that note, there, supporting the tutors, Shola, the first question that we'd like to ask you is, what is your why as a tutor?
Very good question. I remember many years ago now, I'm not going to give that away. When I started out, during my training days, I was at a school in a part of London. I'm not going to give that away either. And I sat back observing a lesson. This is like a normal classroom setting. And I saw an incident. And that incident made me really go away and think. I was a young mom then. I had just an under 2-year-old daughter. And I actually saw my daughter in that room that day, obviously experiencing that incident. So I left that day thinking, it's either I chicken out, because it was just going in to observe, going to see what you're going to get yourself into, or you're definitely going to go in and make a difference. So that day I decided I was going to go through teacher training and then make a difference. So whilst I was in school, as a classroom teacher, I also noticed, Ludo, that there are a number of children who get lost in the crowd, not because the teacher is not a good teacher, but, children learn at different rates, so they make progress at different stages. So I then decided to help out in smaller groups. And that did it for me because, of course, the school where I was, there was a big improvement in the grades that year. So I then decided, hey, I am definitely going to be taking this on. So those are some of the reasons. There's quite a number of other ones, but I'll just keep it really brief for the basis of time. So those are some of the reasons why helping to support children individually or in smaller groups so they can achieve the success that they deserve to success, that they would not be able to in the classroom setting. So that's some of my whys, to make sure that children excel and become the best that they can be.
Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? I mean, the every child wants to do well, and it just so happens that because of certain factors in their life and in their work, that becomes more of an obstacle. So tutoring can just be that release, can't it? It can just
absolutely.
Be
I mean, and that's happened year in, year out, not just by myself, because of course I don't run the centres alone, but with all the other tutors. A child comes in, and one of our ethos is this child has to make progress, no matter how little, so that the child can actually become a lot more confident. And that's where the secret is, Ludo. When a child is confident and they know that, I can actually do that, it helps them, in their mindset to want to do more. So that's why.
That's it. Yeah,
I do what I do.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Thank you, Shola. End of the conversation. That's perfect. Yeah. No, I'd like to hear a little bit more about one of the projects, one of the kind of ideas that you've created in order to facilitate this why, in order to facilitate this attitude, and that is the parent box. Can you tell us, me and our listeners, a little bit more about the parent box?
Oh, good. Parent box also came from a place of working with the children, and of course being aware as a parent myself, the extent to which a parent would have to, put in to help and support their children, apart from, what they get from school or from a tutor. So just before I'd reached a certain age, and because of the demands for obviously sitting with parents and talking through and supporting them so they can then pass on that support to their children, I decided to just create something based on the questions that I've had over the years from parents. What can I do to help my child move from one level to another? How can I make the right school choices for my child? How can my child, attain, back in the day, level 5 in their maths? So all the questions that I've had over the years from parents, I decided to just put that together and create Parent Box. So Parent Box, just in a nutshell, because Parent Box is a tool that caters for a child right from the start of school, so from the cradle, like I'd like to call it, all the way to walking them into their career. So it has resources, the skills that a child would need to develop, the insight for the parents to help support their child right from Key Stage 1 all the way to Key Stage 5 and walking into university. So I'd always like to say it's a tool that a parent would need to help them from the cradle all the way to their career. So that's what Parent Box is. And it's an online program, so parents can access it anywhere, and at any time.
And now, a word from Diego Mello, CEO of the newly announced lead partners of the Love Tutoring Festival 2, Nudge Education.
We are Nudge Education, a movement of like-minded professionals trying to eradicate chronic disengagement from the face of the education sector, a child at a time, and point every chronically disengaged child towards a life that is worth living. So if you want to find out more, please go to nudgeeducation.co.uk/work with us and get involved with the movement.
It seems to be such a comprehensive service.
Yes.
That kind of encompasses Parent Box, and it comes from someone who's been through that before, doesn't it? That's the real power of it. It's not someone stabbing in the dark trying to think about what parents their child. It's as if it's just a kind of imitation of a single parent's own journey through parenthood and trying to understand their child's education.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Ludo, because I have got my older. I've got 2, so that's why I said older. It's just finished up university and is venturing into the world of having her own enterprise. So I remember as we walked that journey as well, because I am one who documents things. I've got journals all around here. So it also came from that, questions that parents do ask, what's the next stage? What's UCAS? Or how do I? So all of those is what is also in Parent Box. So it's interesting you said that, Ludo, that yes, it's from personal experience as well as the experience of working with the children and as well as their parents and the questions over the years. Yeah.
Now, you've talked about there, you often talk about parents needing to understand or wanting to understand their child's education a bit more. I'd like to turn now towards the tutor side of things. How can a tutor understand the needs of a student if they aren't kind of around them 24/7 like a parent is?
I always say this, Ludo, that a good tutor would actually just go beyond just the showing up on a week-by-week basis to teach the child. So what I always, tend to do is just get to know a little bit more about the child and their background or their cultural background, and just finding out how we can support them better. So I always say to my parents, I'm not just there to teach. I am a mentor. I'm a role model. So, I tell my children when I'm going around, I have to be on my best behavior because we could come in contact with any of our parents or the students. So it's just finding out a bit more about the child and going down to the academic needs or the just trying to assess the child's needs as well. So not just, the academic needs of the child, but also going a little bit, and going the extra mile to find out about the child. And sometimes having a conversation with a child, I know quite a number of my friends say to me that, oh, Shola, you're so graced in that area. Speaking to a child for about 5 or 10 minutes, you would be able to, kind of have an idea that, there are some additional needs, there are some missing dots, so I would say just taking on that extra bit on trying to find out about the child, not just the academics or the gaps in the child's learning.
Yeah, it will do wonders for the value of that block of tutoring sessions if you put time in at the beginning, won't it? Rather than just diving into the first worksheet or whatever, the first piece of teaching. And it's also, I find, I'm a tutor myself, I find those are some of the most rewarding sessions.
Yes.
Those first ones where you're really starting to build and you can sense some quick tutoring win, some quick wins that the child is feeling like they're making quick progress. And
yes.
It's not just they're feeling like it, they are making quick progress.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, making that clear to them as well, that, in as much as, and sometimes you would get to know the child's person. I mean, for me, maybe because I've actually done quite a lot of research, because when I published my first book, Parents Understand Your Child, I had to do some research, so understanding the child's person. So some children, we just take things with a pinch of salt, and then you know that, but there's some children that, at the slightest mistake, it's kind of like all hell would break loose. So just knowing that, understanding that child a bit more as a tutor just helps. So as a tutor or as a parent, I also think, my husband teases me most of the time and says to me that you know because you're a woman, but I'd say to him, no, because there are men who are tutors as well. So we want to, and then we will know. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, there's so much in that, really. I think getting to know, if one of the things that we want to help a student with when we tutor them, as well as the academics, is learning kind of the soft skill, the real skills that are needed later on in life, then relationship building is one of those. And if you can show them how a good relationship is formed, then you set them on the path for life, even if they never come back for another tutoring session, even if it's one or two. You've given them something. And I think that's really key to remember.
Yeah. I agree. I was on a Zoom session yesterday, and there was a lady who came to talk about etiquette, for young people. And some of the things that she was saying actually alludes to the fact, to what you've just said, Ludo, that those soft skills and those relationships gets built from that interaction, with people. So, she was just talking to the kids about what would you like people to say about you after the first meet or the first meeting that they've had with you. And it really got me thinking as well, that things we do without thinking about them, and what message it passes on to the other party. So yeah, I fully agree, Ludo. Yeah.
For those of you who know the Love Tutoring Festival, you'll be delighted to hear that we're back. From Monday the 24th to Friday the 28th of January 2022, the Love Tutoring Festival will return, bigger and better than ever. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, you're in for a real treat. The most loved festival in tutoring, the Love Tutoring Festival is a 5-day online celebration of all things tutoring, with some of the biggest names in tutoring, education and pedagogy, and hundreds of committed and motivated tutors from all 4 corners of the globe taking part. It really is the biggest party in tutoring. We will again be working on a freemium ticket model this year, with all events totally free, apart from our famous and ludicrously inexpensive CPD accredited workshops. You can find out more, including the confirmed speakers so far, how to grab your place, and key information on our wonderful sponsors at qualifiedtutor.org/Love Tutoring Festival. Let's raise standards in tutoring together. Now, Shola, you have wonderful experience in training individuals how to run their own business. That's something that a position you've been able to get to through your experience and your expertise in setting up your own businesses, especially in education.
Yeah.
The $1 million question that I'm going to ask you, Shola, is what is your number one tip for someone who's looking to set up their own tutoring business?
That would actually take me to when I started, Ludo. I just went from classroom teacher straight into running a tuition business. And I know some of the mistakes then was, of course, as a classroom teacher, there are things you actually do being in school that would not work as a business owner. So one of them is just that transition from teacher to business owner. And then the other thing that I always say to those that I work with, or I have had the opportunity to work with, is just hone in on your strengths and get support from those who, so say, for example, with regards to the numbers, I'm not an accountant, and of course, you'd obviously want to make sure that the figures are doing okay. I mean, I remember the very first year and I'm thinking, okay, this is definitely not a charity. This is a business. So just making sure that you just work with your strengths. You're a teacher, you do that very well, and suss out the other parts of the business. And number two, just get support. Get somebody to work with you, get somebody to mentor you, because as I said, teaching and running a tuition business, that there's a bit of a gap between the two. So get somebody to support you in that regard.
Yeah, and you have kind of, in that final point you made there, you have people to support you too, don't you?
Absolutely, of course, yeah.
Thorough Tuition is one of your tuition centres, and Exam Success Education, that's not just you, is it?
Absolutely, no way. Gosh, I mean, we do have a number of students, about over 200 students on a week-by-week basis. I'll be dead if I had to do that on my own, Ludo. So I do have a number of tutors, as well as a centre manager who is actually designated. Last year, we had to appoint an assistant centre manager as well because the numbers were increasing, and because we also had to transition from some face-to-face to online. So, definitely put my hands up. Yep.
Yeah.
What?
but it's a sign of strength, actually, isn't it, to work with another, isn't it? It's a sign that the whole business, the whole organisation doesn't have to be just kind of embedded with your thinking. You're willing to open that up to other people's thinking and ideas and kind of ways of doing things. And also, as you said, it's just, you won't give a good service across the board of your organisation if it's just you, the sales, the marketing, the relationship.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh. I mean, what we always say amongst ourselves within our team is teamwork is what makes the dream work. So we call ourselves the Exam Success Dream Team or the Thorough Tuition Dream Team. So it is teamwork at the end of the day, Ludo, that makes the dream work. And if you really want the best for the children and, of course, their families, we would have to just own our strengths, identify the areas that we're not good at and just, let those who are good at that carry that burden while you carry yours.
Yeah, exactly. Now, talking of our, making the dream work and thinking about dreams and visions, I'm going to ask you a question, which is, what would success for tutoring look like in 2030? What are your wildest dreams, Shola, for tutoring?
I've always wanted to, I remember when I decided to become a teacher, I started as a biochemist, by the way, and I went for that experience and I'd wanted to make a difference. What I always wanted is to have a school. But of course, tuition was one of the ways by which I could start up. So I really have the idea of having a virtual school now that things are moving towards or things are the hybrid system. So having a virtual school is one of the things that I'm really looking forward to, so that we can, I mean, in as much as I do, we do cater for quite a number of businesses in Qatar and in Nigeria. But of course, being able to help children all over the world, and support their learning is something that I'd really, really want to get into. Ludo, one thing on my heart, of course, is to make education accessible to as many children worldwide. So that is a dream, and I believe that will be realized. Yeah. So, yeah.
Who's with Shola? Hands up. Go on. I can't see your hand, but I hope to see those hands up, because that's a dream. That's an amazing but also realistic and achievable goal. Is opening up, with online learning, that goal has become just
absolutely,
a little bit more accessible.
Oh yeah. And of course, supporting a lot more, one of the things that I'm actually doing, sorry, Ludo, I know we have to go, is just supporting children's school uniform, disadvantaged children. Because as I say, I always want education to be accessible to every child, because I believe that, as Nelson Mandela said, education is the weapon that we can use to change the world. So I am on a mission, between now and December, to raise some funds, which is why I'm working. Not only because of that, but of course of my fitness, to raise funds to actually get school uniforms across the world. So that's another, dream.
Yeah. Well, you predicted my question, my next and final question, which was what's next for Shola Alabi, which is exactly as you just described, the uniform project that Shola is raising funds for. You can find the GoFundMe link to Shola's page for that in the show notes, which you can find easily wherever you're listening. And you can also next hear Shola Alabi in the context of Qualified Tutor and Love Tutoring as a keynote speaker at Love Tutoring Festival 2 on Wednesday, the 26th of January, 2022. 10 a.m. is Shola's slot. We are delighted that Shola will be kicking off our Teaching and Learning Day on the Wednesday. So all information about that can be found at qualifiedtutor.org/Love Tutoring Festival. We are so excited that Shola, you've agreed to speak at the festival as well. There's an amazing lineup.
I am so looking forward to it, Ludo. Honestly, I as I said, anything to do with teaching, learning, tutors, students, parents. I'll be there.
Yeah. You'll be showing up. You'll be leading, just as you always do, Shola. So
thank you for that opportunity as well. Yeah.
And thank you for joining us today. We fitted in, I think, as much as we could have done in that 25 minutes, but really this conversation was bursting with more ideas, and we will get you back on after the festival, because there's so many more threads there that I want to put on from your years of teaching and tutoring and running a business.
By all means.
Several businesses, Shola. So we're not down here with this conversation. Hold your breath.
Watch this space, eh?
Watch this space. There's a reason that people say that. But no, thank you very much, Shola.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We'll see you next time, officially at the festival, but we'll see you very, very soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay. Bye then, everyone. See you next time. Now, as you may have seen, those of you who within the Qualified Tutor community, we are rolling out a new feature which will allow you, our members, to become involved in the Qualified Tutor podcast episodes. We want to hear your voice. And so this week, we opened up the questions and topics that we discussed with Shola just now to the community. Here's what they had to say.
Hi, my name's Victoria Burns from VB Tutoring. I've been asked to talk to you about what a tutor can do to meet the individual needs of their student. So for me, it is to interact with them, to get to know them personally, get to know some background information from their parents, and ask the students themselves, what do they want to learn and how do they learn best? What strategies do they think work? Engage with the student on an individual basis and try to meet their individual needs and goals. So an individualistic style is paramount for me. Know your student as a person. Thank you.
And now we hear from Kaylee Rapson.
As somebody who's recently set up a tutoring business, my top tip for anyone who is thinking of doing the same is to surround yourself with people you trust, whether it's friends, family, or other tutors. Have someone that you can bounce ideas off and who can keep you sane, and also people that can be truthful with you and keep you grounded as you move through the first few months. It's a really difficult job, and I wish that I'd had somebody more knowledgeable than me to guide me through it. But now that I've connected with other tutors and I've connected with friends and family, I feel much more supported and more able to expand and grow.
Now, if you'd like to have your voice heard on the podcast next week, simply visit speakpipe.com/qualified tutor podcast, or just look in the show notes below and have a go at answering the questions I'll be asking next week's guest, Crystal Webber, which are: what are your top 3 tips for online language tutors? What would language tutoring look like in 2030? And how will the recent legal changes in China affect the global online tutoring market? So have a go at answering those questions and send in your answers to speakpipe.com/qualified tutor podcast. That's speakpipe.com/qualified tutor podcast. And we'll show the best ones at the end of next week's episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Qualified Tutor Podcast. Whether you're a regular listener of this podcast or you've just stumbled across it, join the Qualified Tutor Podcast group within the Qualified Tutor community to stay up to date with our latest news, offers, workshops, and of course, simply to meet other tutors like you. Whatever your level as a tutor, our training courses will be the next step in your professional development. Visit qualifiedtutor.org/training to find out more about our CPD accredited and Ofqual recognised courses, the first of their kind in the tutoring industry. Your student deserves the best tutor possible. Make that happen today by joining Qualified Tutor.